Welcome to the very first episode of the Selling with Lori Show. I'm Lori McShane, a licensed realtor in California and your host. And I couldn't be more excited to bring to you expert insights, actionable advice, and a celebration of our vibrant Pasadena community. Today, we're diving into an increasingly popular topic, ADUs, accessory dwelling units. Are they the right fit for your property? And is an ADU for you? We'll also shine the spotlight on a local gem, Union Street French Café, a place where amazing food and coffee come together in a setting that feels like this warm escape. You won't want to miss it. So sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and let's get started. The Pasadena housing market remains highly competitive, with limited inventory and strong demand leading to multiple offers and quick sales. According to the California Association of Realtors, home sales are projected to increase by 10.5% in 2025, with the median home prices expected to rise 4.6%. Additionally, mortgage rates are anticipated to decline, which could further fuel buyer activity. And the recent Eaton fire has also impacted the housing demand, as some displaced residents look for new living arrangements in surrounding areas. And with Pasadena's real estate market already tight, homeowners are exploring options like ADUs, which stands for Accessory Dwelling Units, and they might find them to be valuable and add a living space or rental potential while meeting evolving housing needs. Now, let's talk with our ADU experts. Doug, Scott, welcome to the Selling with Lori Show. I'm so excited to have both of you here to help our viewers understand ADUs and their potential for homeowners. Doug Huberman is here with 33 years of real estate experience as a property manager, asset manager, and turnaround consultant and principal. You bring wealth and knowledge to the table. I'm very blessed that you are here. And we have Scott Stinovitz. He is a multifaceted real estate executive and project leader who excels in managing development projects, and your expertise in navigating the complexities of real estate is invaluable. So, I would love to start with you, Scott, and basically let's just start with the basics.
Sure.
What exactly is an ADU?
Well, an ADU stands for Accessory Dwelling Unit, and is basically another home, if you will, on your property. A small house. It has a kitchen, bathroom, bedrooms, and they are usually smaller than the main house. There are state rules that allow those types of units to be put onto the property now. So we're here to talk about that with you.
Great, and I know that I've been personally seeing there's been so much interest around ADUs. Is that going to pick up as we're moving forward in 2025?
Yes, the ADU ordinances have really accelerated development in the Los Angeles area in general, and is going to continue to expand as people start learning more about it. So it's thank you for having me on here, by the way.
Oh, of course.
It's something that's every homeowner should really consider. But Doug and I are going to talk about when it's appropriate to put those on there.
Yes, I was actually.
Well, and then also I was just going to say that an ADU is not an ADU. There's actually different kinds, and that's one of Scott's expertise is the different types of ADUs you can have and develop, and also the types that you can combine on the same property. So maybe
Sure.
you could
talk about that a little bit. Sure, happy to. So there's basically three types of ADUs. There's a detached ADU, so it's completely separate from your home. So like it looks like a pool house or something like that. There is an attached ADU, so it's actually attached to your own house, but it has a separate entrance. And there's what's called a junior ADU. So within your home, you can put a separate unit, but it has one front door. So you go through your main front door, and then you would go into the junior ADU through a common hallway. So there's three types.
And Doug, how would one know whether or not if an ADU is right for you?
Well, there's two things you have to always bear in mind when you're even considering the idea of adding residences to your property. The first would be, just because the government says that you can do it doesn't mean that you should. I have, through each of our ventures, I have seen plenty of properties where the value has been added to by doing an ADU, and I've seen just as many where our clients have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars and they've actually diminished the value. So that's number one. Number two is there's a big difference between you're doing an ADU to create a family compound. And you want to have multi-generational presence of your family. You want a place for your parents, grandparents, or even children to live because housing is so expensive, versus you're doing an ADU because you want to increase or maximize rental income. So anything we discuss, you have to bear in mind those considerations. But once you've done that, what you have to really think about is physically what works and what doesn't work.
That's very important, extremely important.
Yes. So for example, if you have a corner lot, because then you can have access to the different units off of different streets. Because one of the primary things you want to do, unless it's a family compound, is preserve the privacy and the sense of you're in a home for the primary residence. And so a corner lot's great because the ADU can have an entrance here and the main house here. Or if you have a very wide but shallow lot, again, that works very well because you can divide it this way, and even though the access is off the same street, they're not impeding on each other. Whereas if you have a deep lot that's narrow,
Is that with like one home in
you have
front?
a home in the front, home in the back,
and then a home in the back.
right? And every time the people in the back are trying to access it,
Then you see them walk on the
right,
side.
you're violating the privacy and the sense of a home. And almost always, the existing house is the one in the front.
Right.
And so when you see people disregard that and just add ADUs, kind of willy-nilly, many times what happens is, yes, you get the rent from the ADU, but now you have a difficult time renting, or you have to accept significantly less money for the house in the front. So
that's
it's
interesting. I never
really
thought about it like
important
that.
to think about the physical. Another one that we've seen work very, very well is a pie. So you have a main house, you have a pie-shaped lot, and you can take a sliver like this, put, depending on the municipality, 5 or 6 foot fence between them. So the main house still has the main residence, but it has a private yard.
I see.
And then the ADU, which is a smaller structure, typically maximum of 1,200 square feet, has an entrance, the smaller home, and its own private yard. So it's very, very important to know what you're trying to do. We recently were involved with a project where we advise. So we strenuously advised our client that the pie shape worked. They built the ADU, worked great. Excellent income, wonderful tenant, long-term occupancy. And then they came to us and they said, we want to turn the garage into an ADU. And we told them, do not do that, because people who are renting a single family home, one, they expect to have a garage, even if it's not to put their cars in.
Yes,
a lot
just
of people,
for that just storage.
Just extra space.
we've all accumulated enough
lot of stuff.
right,
Yeah.
that we want a
Yes.
garage. So that's a negative. But the other is, if it was a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath home, typically you're going to have a family situation or a roommate situation because of that. And a lot of people who are renting that family home don't want to have a neighbor that they don't know, they don't control, right, near other family members.
Yeah.
So you can't overdo it. And that's the most important thing. Consider the physical aspects of your property if it's existing. Is it wide? Is it pie-shaped? Is it a corner lot? And then also a lot of people who are out there are going, okay, there's an opportunity to increase income. I'm going to buy properties suitable for ADUs. it'd be the same thing. You want to avoid anything where building the ADU would significantly diminish the sense of privacy and the sense of it being a family home. Now,
And there's some mitigating measures too that you can do, like adding landscaping, having separate entrances, having a different driveway approach. So there's some things that you can do on a narrower lot where you could possibly make a smaller private yard for the main house and then have it completely separate so it feels separate. There's things that you can do. It's not ideal, but it definitely would help
so if
the
you're
situation.
Yeah. So if you're in a neighborhood that flag lots are typical,
Yes.
then you can make it feel like that by
Right,
putting in
similar
a
flag lot, yeah.
separate driveway that goes along the side, and you have the wall there.
Or even a separate entrance. So if there's common parking, you could have just a kind of a completely separate entrance that's more private to the back. Again, it will have separation for the two people that are living there.
And what do homeowners need to know about, the permits, timelines, and I could imagine like the costs of, constructing an ADU. I mean, there's some that are already like prefabbed, right?
Sure. Two types. There's a lot of manufacturers that do prefabricated units that you can actually purchase. They literally deliver them with drywall and everything finished, and you can actually set them on site. It's really an amazing thing like Boxable. There's a couple of different ones that are really interesting
You
to look
literally
at.
pour the foundation, and they bring it in with a giant crane.
And they just set it on
just
site.
plop it.
Absolutely.
Oh,
And so
okay.
you can order it with different finishes, and that's really kind of a nice thing to do because it cuts down the time of construction considerably. Now they do have to ship it, so shipping costs and different things that you have to understand. And also, if you can get a crane, people have to understand that you have to be able to get a crane, a big crane, into the property and be able to do that. So some properties aren't suited for that.
I see, because of the electrical
Electrical wires,
Yeah.
there's all kinds of different things that you have to look at. And obviously, they're trying hard. They will come out and see you, the people that build these, and they will assess your property and make sure that it's suitable for that. Now, if you can't do that or you don't want to, you want to do something more custom.
Custom, that was the
Yeah,
word I was
sure,
looking for
custom.
earlier. Oh my gosh, yes,
you would
custom.
hire. There's several architects. There's many architects that are familiar with the ADU regulations, and you can design your own accessory dwelling unit the way you want it. Whether it's
Yeah.
for, if you're doing it for rent or you're doing it for your parents or your kids, you can design it however you want to. You can have an attached garage to it. So there's many different ways that you can do that. There is something that's very interesting that's out now. The state has a grant program that you can apply for, and I can give you the particulars on it later, up to $40,000 to pay for plans, permits, fees for an ADU, which is really nice of the government.
Yeah.
You actually have to apply. There's certain income thresholds that you have to meet to do that. But it does give you some money to explore that and help pay for those costs.
And is that just in California?
It's just in California, yep.
And what about, I know there's the SB9,
Sure.
and then how you can actually like split a lot
Yes.
to actually have a larger home versus the smaller,
Yes.
accessory dwelling units. So Scott, I know that you have a couple projects right now that you are working on.
Yes.
Would you mind sharing the particulars on that and how a homeowner could move forward if they're looking to go in that direction?
Sure. So SB 9 is a state law that's come out where in certain instances, not all instances, you're able to split the lot basically in half. When they say half, the maximum is 60% of the total area of the lot. So if you had a 10,000 foot lot, you'd have 6,000 square feet on one side, 4,000 feet on the other. That's the maximum you could split the lot, if that makes sense. And you're allowed to put another house on the property and another, actually two more ADUs now. There's a new state law. They went from one ADU to two ADUs. Again, as Doug mentioned, not necessarily a great idea if you don't have the space or it becomes an issue, but you do have that option now. This is done ministerially, so that means that there's no real approvals other than the actual submittal of the documentation to do that within your jurisdiction. Now, every city has their own ordinances that you have to heed to in order to get this done. So there's setbacks for side yard setbacks, front yard setbacks, heights, all kinds of different things that you have to concern yourself with when you actually pull that permit. So you have to go to the local jurisdiction that you're located in and get all that information before you actually do an SB9 lot split. One of the other requirements is someone of ownership, at least 25% ownership has to maintain, or you have to be on one of the two properties for a period of 3 years. So there's an affidavit you have to fill out and
Okay.
agree to. So you have to remember that you have to do that. The other thing is you're allowed to rent the other, when you split the lot off, you're allowed to rent it, or you can actually sell that completely separately.
So would they have like a own separate address?
Yes, separate address and separate everything. Yeah,
Separate utilities.
separate utilities,
Okay.
everything. So it's kind of an interesting program. We're doing it right now with Doug, and in Pasadena right now. So it's a single family home, and we've decided to put another house in the back and only one ADU. Because it was just appropriate, again, for privacy and things like that. We had shown the project with another attached ADU, and the owner decided that they wanted to keep it more private for the back owner. So we decided on 3 total units.
Right. And that gets back to just because you can doesn't mean that you should. Another consideration you always want to make when you're looking at these types of projects is, so you take a single family lot with one house, right? You split it, now you have 2 structures. Now you do 2 ADUs on each. All of a sudden you have 6 residences on the same single family lot. Where's everybody going to park?
Right.
Yeah.
And unless you're living in an area that's completely walk to,
Yeah.
and you might be able to get away with it in Old Pasadena, where you got the Gold Line station right there, but
Right.
where's the single family homes
But it's
in that
California,
area?
and
It's California.
everybody drives in
Everybody's
California.
car-centric.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you can even walk.
I get that all the
drive.
time. People ask me like, well, we don't need to add parking. I'm like, be realistic.
Yeah.
Everybody drives their car, especially if you don't live in a town. A few other things to talk about with SB9 and also the ADUs in a severe high fire hazard area. Cities have the right to actually restrict the number of units that you can put on your property. So with everything that's going on with the fires, I think that's needs to be taken into consideration.
That and also landmark designations. cities.
Landmark,
Yeah.
absolutely, and different things like that. Now, you're under any circumstance, you are allowed to put one ADU up to 800 square feet. Again, with a high fire hazard area, you have to talk to local officials about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Okay.
I think there's one other consideration that people need to understand, and that's the financing. Because if you have a single family lot and you split it off, you actually need to talk to your lender if they're going to release the back lot. So what that means is when you originally purchased the home, there's a legal description that comes with it, right? So, and that mortgage covers the entire property. So when you split the lot off, you actually have to ask the lender if they're going to allow you to release that back lot. So a lot of times they won't, and you have to actually refinance. So that's something to consider when you're doing this too. People don't think about that, but it's important.
And the same thing, actually, not just for mortgages, but for insurance, that if you're insured and you have a mortgage as a single family home, if you're going to turn it into multifamily and or be renting it out so it's commercial, all of a sudden you have to make sure that you have a different insurance policy. And it may well be that your lender who lent on it because they love the residential nature of a single family home loans, they may not want their loan converted to something that's commercial. So then all of a sudden you're looking for a new mortgage, new insurance on top of plans and permits. The other thing I just wanted to throw in the mix is we talked about the 2 extremes, one being the prefab and the other the custom stick built. A lot of cities, including the city of LA, if you go to their website, they actually have a catalog of pre-approved ADU plans.
That's a good.
That get you
Yeah,
streamlined.
I know the city of Pasadena has 2 different concepts.
And now they're just starting to really build and fill theirs out. So if you're stuck for ideas or you're looking for things that will have an easier path through approval, that's always a good place to start.
And those are over-the-counter permits, which is amazing. So you can actually just go down
So
to
the
the building
timing
department.
is just like
There's no
this.
review.
Yeah.
No
It's
review.
just you walk in, you say, I want number 3 on page 2, and they just go like
They
this.
stamp it, and you pay the fee, and you're off to
Or
the
you're
races.
off.
Yeah.
Wow. So Doug and Scott, you know, these are fantastic insights that you are sharing for our homeowners here today watching the show. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise. Chantal, thank you so much for joining us on the Selling with Lori show. Your cafe has become such a beloved spot in Pasadena. What inspired you to open Union Street French Café?
Oh, a long story. First, you have to know that it's not my job at all, neither my husband. So we just fell in love with California more than 10 years ago and just want to move from France to California. And for French people like us, the only solution is to invest or married, but I love my husband, so I don't want to change our husband. So we asked for an invest visa, E2. And by the way, we bought a restaurant and we found a small place, small gem, as you said, in Pasadena. Small, very old, a lot of work to do inside, but I fell in love with the brick and the wood. So finally, I saw exactly what you do here. And my husband said, are you sure? Yes, I was sure. Because it was a very warm place. So first, we just want to move from France to California. And at the end, we love this cafe. It's like my baby. So I open my door exactly if you come at home. So I want to give the same hospitality to the customer as I can do for my family. And I think it's a success. Finally, some people like that.
Oh, I love it. My first time going to your cafe, it was just, and truly, it was just so warm and inviting, and
Yeah.
the food and the coffee, oh my gosh, they are truly exceptional. Was your vision from the beginning was it to bring the European flair into a city flair?
To be honest, there's not a special goal. It's just to open something who looks like me. So I think it's better to do what you know and be like you are. So I decorate the cafe exactly if it was my house. And finally, it's me. It's my baby, but it's me too. And I put a lot of love in this cafe and put all my heart, and my husband too, because we work a lot. And finally, I think the customer feel it. Really, if you put some love, when you do something, the people feel it. It's the same for the kitchen. When you eat the food, it's very simple, but you feel all the love we put in the food. That's it.
Well, we are so lucky to have a place like this in our community. To give our viewers a better look at what makes Union Street French Café so special, let's take a closer look with footage provided by Everything Pasadena. Thank you to Doug, Scott, and Chantal for joining us today. Remember, if you're considering an ADU or just love great coffee and food, we've got you covered. And don't forget to visit sellingwithlori.com/show to submit topics you would like us to discuss in future episodes. And until next time, I'm Lori McShane, helping you navigate real estate with confidence. See you soon.